Hey, what's going on out there, everybody? This is Samuel Leggett here representing TeamJVS. Here to you guys another review straight from Sundance 2025. I'm talking about the film called Ricky. Ricky was directed by Rashid Fred. Rashid Fred in 2023 had a short film with the same exact name, and now this is his first feature directorial debut in the same exact title role, Ricky. So this is surrounding Ricky. Ricky is a now 30-year-old man that has been incarcerated for the past 15 years. And yes, you heard that correctly. That means that when he got into prison, he was 15 years old. And so for him, it's navigating what that looks like, all the challenges of the PTSD and the trauma of being incarcerated for that amount of time, but also figuring out how to develop independence and actually adulthood, because the majority of his adulthood was within a prison system. So it's not even just the normal situation where you have a person that's incarcerated for a period of time and trying to proactively figure out what jobs they can be able to navigate, what opportunities they can actually get without being looked down upon, or even the injustices of being in society when looked at from the eyes of somebody like this. And this is an amazing cast. The cast for this one, Stephen James. If you've seen the film, the amazing film, If Beale Streets Talk, or Race, where he plays Jesse Owens, or Selma, you know he's an amazing actor. And I think the last film that he was in recently was The Piano Lesson. This also is starring Cheryl Lee Randolph, Titus Wilbeaver, and a slew of other amazing actors and actresses. Sibby Raleigh plays the role of his mother in this role. Cheryl Lee Randolph plays the role of Joan, who is his parole officer. And the background of this is just so intense because there's so many different factors of it. The biggest thing that I can say is I think that Stephanie's role, Cheryl's role in this one, I think that she is a commanding force in this film, because a lot of things that Steven's character Ricky is dealing with has to go through the funnel of her and his mother, played by Sibby. Now, when they're together, when both of these actresses, these amazing actresses together, they light up every scene they're in. But I think that for Cheryl, there's an expectation of excellence and also a huge vulnerability that she exudes throughout this film that truly makes this very different than anything you kind of seen, especially from a role from a parole officer, because there's never this like coddling, but at the same exact time, there's this understanding. And I love her dynamics with Stefan even more so than the scenes that he's in by himself. Now, let's not get it twisted. I think that Rashid and Steven have come up with something very specific in this. Even the way it's actually shot, the way that it's shot, it's not like very tight cinematography or overexposure or anything extravagant. It's very just to the point. And I think a lot of scenes feel like they're from a first person perspective in the way that they're framed, but they're not a first person perspective. And what I mean by that is everything that Ricky is feeling, everything that he's having to do, you feel it. Every single moment where it looks like he's just not being understood or he's at a breaking tipping point, you feel. And I think that it's a combination of how Rashid puts him in certain scenarios that are common scenarios that people get tripped up and could get tripped up, that are very natural, because it's not as though he has any understanding of what to watch out for or how to keep himself afloat, because before he made it back into society, he was 15 years old. So he knows nothing other than survival. And even in the way that he interacts with his younger brother, it's like they're almost the same age, and that's not even the case. So I think that with Steven's acting, along with how Rashid like frames every single scene that they're in, it works. It works very well. But let's go ahead and keep things going when it comes to Steven, because Steven has to do so much lifting, literally, because he has to make sure you're conveyed that he's not a pushover, that he has been incarcerated, that he has gone through trauma, that he has dealt with things that no one should have to deal with. You have to see all that in different emotions, different ranges of emotion, whether it's aggression, whether it is deflection, whether that is lying, whether that is um, trying to make hasty decisions very quickly. But then the other side of it is the emotional turmoil that he's battling from people's perceptions and expectations of him that a black man would have to deal with just being an adult, period. Not even somebody that was prior incarcerated, but what a black man would have to deal with in a society much like what he's going through. And I think that there are three different characters that Stephen is having to play: the man that is incarcerated, the man that's a black man trying to make it in society, and also the man that did not grow up, that did not have the luxury of being able to have a childhood. So he's trying to also live, and he's making brash decisions without understanding the consequences of how people interact and how, unfortunately, they're going to let you down. And I love that aspect of the film. This is a good cast. It's a really good cast. I think the thing that I'll say is a push and a pull with the way that this was actually shot and framed is it hits all the emotional numbers that you should feel. But at times it kind of feels like this is something that could have been on television. It could have been a series or a TV film. It doesn't feel as grand as what the film feels like it could have been. There are scenes that kind of don't drag at all. They just go straight to the point. From a pacing standpoint, that's good. But I think there's certain scenes that could have leaned in a little bit more, taking their time with. And even though this film is a tight film, it's not like this is a film that's like short. Like it's an hour and like 49 minutes, hour 50 minutes. So it's still, but I think that certain pockets of time that feels like it's just kind of just leaning and teetering where it could actually go. I just think that they could have done it a little differently, and that could have been something that I think would have catered to it being a more grander film than what it actually perpetuates at times. And I think part of that is for the transition coming from a short to a major motion picture. But I do think that what they did with it from an acting standpoint, from a human emotional standpoint, it still had its effectiveness with it. But I'd rest this at a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10. I definitely don't know if it would be something I would go back and rewatch, but I definitely think actual fuck just happened. what's going on. I couldn't just maybe. I don't edit anymore, so I don't have to deal with something like that. But yeah, in terms of the film, I think that they did a really good job with it. I rested again at an 8 out of 10. I think it's definitely something that I would recommend to people. I don't know if it's something that I can watch again because it gets really rough towards the back half. It's just I don't know emotionally if it's something that I can just watch needlessly because I'm a little close to it. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for our coverage for Sundance 2025. We got a lot more coverage to come. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace, people.